Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with yet another story for you. This one is, am I the astronaut for not allowing my son to play during his day off from school? My son Caleb is 8 years old and in the 3rd grade. He had the day off from school today due to it being MLK Day. I have a policy that if he has the day off from school due to it being a holiday, he cannot play until the time where he would normally get home from school.
The point of being out of school.
What is he doing? No TV, no video games, and no playing outside. Yeah, because it's super unhealthy. Instead, I give him the option of studying about the holiday, in this case MLK Day, or helping me around the house. I don't force him to do any of these things, but if he doesn't want to, he can sit and do nothing. He isn't allowed to play until the time he would normally get home from school. Also, if I need to run errands, unless my husband Jack can watch him, Caleb has to come with me. Well, that's kind of a given. I do this because I want him to understand that not all people get the day off on holidays, that kids have off from school. I have pointed out that a lot of businesses are open on holidays, as are emergency services. As I've explained to him that when he's old enough to get a job, depending on where he works, he might be expected to come into work on these days. I also do this because depending on what he wants to do, I might not be up for taking him various places or doing the things he feels like doing. I'm a homemaker and Jack works from home. His job allows him to set his own schedule, but he usually works holidays and at least part of the weekend. I usually spend the day cleaning, grocery shopping, and when I'm finished, I usually relax until it's time to pick Caleb up from school, which is 2:40 p.m. Today, Caleb complained about not being allowed to play, but didn't want to study or help around the house, so he chose to sit and do nothing. He continued to complain, yet whenever I reminded him that he could still study or help around the house, he still chose to do nothing. After I was finished cleaning up, which was around 11 a.m., I had to go to the grocery store, and I took him with me. After we got back, I watched an episode of General Hospital I had recorded but hadn't watched yet, and spent the rest of the afternoon reading.
I'm sorry, she can watch TV.
Yes, she's allowed to watch TV. Caleb kept complaining, and I eventually told him that he wasn't allowed to play when he would normally have gotten home from school. He still complained. So he lost his pending playtime as well. He still complained, and I told him to go to his room. He doesn't have any toys in his room.
Naturally. Why not? Why would he? He's a child.
Most prison cells don't have toys. Shortly afterwards, Jack came into the kitchen to have lunch. He told me that we were being unfair to Caleb because other kids, including his friends, get to play. But to him, it feels like he's being punished. The thing he especially had a problem with was me watching TV when he wasn't allowed to. He said that he never liked this rule, as it wasn't a rule his parents had when he was a kid. It was a rule that my parents had, however, but went along with it. I told him I wish he had said something about this years ago, and we argued. He's still mad, and Caleb is still upset. So now I feel bad, but I still don't think he should get the day off on a day when most adults still have to work. Okay, how, in this last statement, OP, is this still justified in your mind? And I know the answer. The answer is because you were brought up this way. But you answered your very own question here, right? You said, I feel bad, but I still don't think he should get the day off on a day when most adults still have to work. He's a kid. He's a kid. And what happens if you don't allow your kid to be a kid? That's the question here. We have a lot of therapists that are part of this group, and a lot of people that are in progress to become therapists too. So riddle me this: what happens to a kid who isn't allowed to be a kid? What happens to their development? What happens when they grow up? Like what kind of damage does that cause? Nicole, is this rage bait? Because it's working. Kids get a break from school for a reason. They don't grow up. Generational trauma. He'll be no contact with mom. Why doesn't my son talk to me anymore? Yeah. Playtime is learning time too. You know what else it is? It's therapeutic time. There's so much like sensory therapy that involves play. And one of the first things whenever I started therapy that my therapist told me was one of the best things that you can do is play. Take some time and play with your kid. Do some tactile things. Color. Build with blocks. Those things are therapeutic things. Those are good building blocks to who you want your child to become as a human. This rigid structure, treating your child like an employee, is not healthy. And it's going to cause some damage. And OP, because you've lived this, I know that you can't see it. Maybe there's a little bit of pain because your husband now opposes you on this, right? There's enough pain for him to finally speak up and say, all right, this is asinine. I can't go along with this anymore. So now you feel a little bit bad, but you still have this core belief because it was created by your family, by your parents when you were growing up, right? So maybe question that now. Maybe question that now and look at yourself and say, hey, because I wasn't allowed to do this? Are there some isms? Are there some quirks that I have that are a result of my doing this? You don't have to do everything that your parents did. In fact, a lot of people do things differently on purpose. We know more now than we did then, right? And that's where the generational trauma, that's like crumping and trauma at the same. It's a very traumatic crumping. I could illustrate it for you if you like. That's where a lot of the generational trauma comes in, right? We know more now than we did then. The parenting books of the day might have suggested this kind of thing. Now they probably wouldn't suggest this kind of thing. Not having toys in his room, not allowing him, like, I think there's a misunderstanding right now about what playing accomplishes, OP. It is a good thing. There's a lot of benefit to play, but you're viewing it strictly as a reward for something, and it kind of seems like you're training him like a dog. You put him in his kennel, and then you let him out and use it as a positive reinforcement thing, like only if. But you're also taking a negative direction here too, because you're taking things away as you go. Like, yeah, you were going to give him this playtime if he chose to do X or Y. He chose not to do those things, so he had to sit there, but he complained, so then he lost the playtime that he would have had, even if it wasn't a holiday. At some point here, there's got to be something that kind of kicks enough self-reflection, or kicks you out of this enough to self-reflect and say, is this the right thing? What is this going to do to my child? What has it done to me? And really start exploring that. I'm not suggesting that you like drop it and change your life right now, but I'm suggesting that you start questioning yourself. Personally, I think this is something you definitely shouldn't have done. I don't think you're evil for it. I think it is something you definitely should not have done. This was hardwired into you. That's why you think it's okay. But now you know there's at least enough of a problem with it to where you need to be seriously looking at it. If you are involved in therapy, this is the kind of thing that I would suggest talking to a therapist about, and explore it. Explore, you know where it came from, but explore why that belief is so rigid in you, and explore what it did. And that'll give you a clue or a blueprint as to what it's going to do to your child as well. It'd be really interesting to know if OP's parents, when they were bringing her up and giving her this structure, if they were both on the same page with it, or if one person secretly, like Dad here, disagreed with it the whole time but went along with it. Play develops problem-solving skills, for sure.